The men and women behind the soon-to-be launched All Elite Wrestling theoretically know their audience really, really well. Hello comment section. They know that a sizable enough portion of wrestling fans have been willing and waiting to be poached by a single wrestling organization capable of combining the multiple niche wrestling interests they've amassed outside of WWE. They know that few are better at building anticipation for a wrestling product than wrestling audiences themselves. They know that Cody Rhodes winning NWA's version of a world title was a major reason behind All In putting 10,000 Chicagoan butts in seats. And they know how to do the same again. I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, and this is the real reason Goldust was released by WWE. In 2018, All In's angles were predominantly furnished by Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks as being the elite travelogue turned banter hour. On the strength of this and their hard-earned reputations for in-ring bangers, the group stirred something within the industry at large, so much so, WWE's talent themselves took notice. A wrestling world with a deep affection for the late Dusty Rhodes gushed with pride over his youngest son's transcendent display in, around, and on the night of All In. 3-star Cody had knocked out a 6-star experience for fans and wrestlers alike with the historic show, not least in his own encounter. The success of that total stormer was perhaps the biggest shock of the night. Well, either that or the penis druids. This wasn't the story of two charlatans selling bollocks to the last marks willing to spend money. This was the case of two workers working. And wonderfully, it worked. But what's all this got to do with a man who for decades told us not to forget his name? And why now, at such a crucial time for pro wrestling, has a bona fide legend behind a bizarre aesthetic been allowed to remind us? But first, let's talk about Triple H for a change. The prodigal son-in-law has, as usual, been a figure of tremendous intrigue over the last few weeks as a long WrestleMania weekend brought out the good, the bad, and the ugly of the game. Friday's NXT show was possibly the best takeover in that franchise's rich history, whereas a flagging WrestleMania crowd really could have done without 25 minutes of Triple H versus Batista, but tragically, that was to be expected. What came as more of a shock was his repeated insistence on digging out All Elite Wrestling during a broadly enjoyable D-Generation X Hall of Fame induction speech, with war guns and silly glasses. Not since Vince McMahon casted Hogan and Savage as octogenarians in '96 has a WWE higher-up taken such a low road in talking about the opposition. In jest or otherwise, depending on your take, the Executive Vice President of Talent, Live Events and Creative first mocked the AEW top line for giving themselves long titles. Then he railed on the crowd for adding Marty Scurll's whoop whoop to his too sweet chant. And Billy Gunn took a couple of digs just for having the gall to work there, and so that the King of Kings could call Cody and Co. pissants. The game was gotten to, and it was delicious. Ask him, and it's likely he'd deny having any interest in what any of his former colleagues were up to, but his envy stuck out more than his nose. And it's probably why he played it so cool when a prominent former opponent requested his release to join them. Of all the stars to slap atop an AEW logo ahead of huge transfer news, Goldberg does seem the most obvious in hindsight. Before even considering the obvious family ties, the bizarre one had been winding down for years in WWE to presumably move into a role that made better use of his mind than his body. Dustin Runnels wasn't the first to ask for his release, but he was probably the first to make his intentions crystal clear. A recent Wrestling Observer note on the deal suggested that Vince McMahon was keen on keeping Goldust around before Triple H, back on his bullshit, convinced God that he wasn't worth fighting for all fighting over. Dustin's challenge to Cody dropped on April 20th, following the conclusion of a 90-day non-compete clause triggered by a quiet January WWE release. If Triple H is controlling this narrative, it's likely that he'd spin it as a magnanimous gesture to allow brothers to reunite. But, and as of recording, the War Raiders are about to get their third main roster moniker in as many weeks. What if Vince McMahon's instincts were sharper here? Ugh, doesn't feel nice saying that. Runnels is a great get for All Elite Wrestling, regardless of how close he and Cody can come to topping the spectacular old-school All-In Classic when they go to war in Las Vegas. A shrewd wrestling mind fused by experience and genetics, he is sure to slide into an agent role no matter how long he runs the ropes for AEW. And All Elite Wrestling know that because they really know their audience. The real reason WWE released Goldust is because they no longer have a bloody clue what's going on with theirs. Goldust's exit reflects the first point in 20 years that WWE have elected to be reactive rather than proactive when it comes to another wrestling organization. AEW didn't fire the first shot by signing Goldust, they simply handed over the gun for WWE to shoot themselves in the foot. Look, WWE's door is revolving for the first time in years. Wrestlers and writers have come and gone at an alarming rate in 2019, with Vince McMahon even acknowledging talent absences as for the reason why Q1 earnings dropped $5 million compared to this time last year. Saudi Arabia money and massive television rights more than prop up McMahon's piles of cash, but sagging television ratings, live gates and merchandise figures suggest that a current disconnect with a portion of the fan base can't afford to cut much deeper. Dustin Runnels isn't Scott Hall and Kevin Nash in 1996, but talent trades like that aren't needle movers in 2019 anyway. Philosophically, All Elite Wrestling are attempting to go brand new as a way of attracting the old guard. And philosophically, Vince McMahon hasn't ever considered other companies part of his competition, and yet he went to war with his own son-in-law to keep a 50-year-old on the books, despite describing 10 years younger Hogan and Savage as ancient. Let that sink in. Triple H, meanwhile, he gets hot at the Hall of Fame whilst trying to play it cool in the boardroom. Look, regardless, they remain at the very top of the industry. It's just that they have no concrete clue how to service the fans waiting below. This just got interesting. And there you have it. That is the real reason WWE released Goldust. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And check out our wrestling podcast by searching for WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes or Spotify. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from WhatCulture, and I'll see you soon.
Hello WhatCulture, my name is Simon Miller and today I have an announcement so big, so huge, it's gonna shatter the very foundations of your life to the point you may need to phone up a friend and say, I don't even know who I am anymore, I have just heard the news, have you heard the news? They'll probably say, no, I haven't heard the news, but you're already on the phone to them, you've already connected with them, so I would appreciate it if you either tell them the news or send them to this video. Thanks. So what is the news? Well, it's nice and simple. I've heard you out there, I've seen you've been commenting, I've read your tweets, and I can now officially let you know that if you do enjoy Raw ups and downs, if you do enjoy SmackDown ups and downs, that now you'll be able to set your watches to them, you'll be able to make notes in your calendars, because we're gonna have an official time for when they're gonna go live. I know, massive. So Ups and Downs for Raw will go live at 2 p.m. GMT, that's British time every Tuesday, and they will go live at 2 p.m. GMT every Wednesday for SmackDown. So you don't have to be aimlessly walking around anymore going, what do? I want to know what got up and what got down and what Seth Rollins did or what AJ Styles is up to. Now you know, 2 p.m. GMT Tuesday, 2 p.m. GMT Wednesdays, Ups and Downs coming at you in the face. I realize what I just said, retract that, keep moving on, and I hope to see you there soon. And I hope that we build an audience so big that if I ever wanted to march an army anywhere in the world, I could, and we'd call it the Ups and Downs Army, because I haven't come up with a better name. So yes, just to reiterate, Raw Ups and Downs, 2 p.m. GMT Tuesday, SmackDown Ups and Downs, 2 p.m. GMT Wednesday. I cannot wait to bring this brand new era in, and unlike other brand new eras, I've already let you know exactly what you can expect to see. Come on, 2019, Kenny Omega, we don't know where he's going, but you do know and you can always rely on ups and downs.